So active trigger points are the ones that hurt when you're doing nothing, tend to hurt a lot, and that are associated with larger feelings of tightness and larger areas of pain, and also referred pain. Another example of an active trigger point is when someone comes in and they may think they have sciatic pain, but what they really have is an active trigger point in the piriformis muscle here, or the gluteus medius or minimus muscle, or the quadratus femoris muscle. These are what are called the external rotator muscles of the hip. And you can have active trigger points in all of those muscles, not just one of them. And also, lots of people who have bulging discs don't only have a bulging disc. They have a bulging disc and active trigger points. And they have active trigger points and shortened tight muscles. The shortened tight muscles can themselves be the cause of the bulging disc, because if each of my fists is a vertebra and the disc is in between the vertebra, when the muscles are contracted or shortened, what do? They bring the bone closer together, and now they exert a compressive force on the disc that can itself lead to the bulging disc. So another example of referred pain is without a disc issue, is when someone has active trigger points in the lateral rotators of the hip, and then they get pain down the back of the leg or the side of the leg that mimics sciatic pain, but when you query them, actually has characteristics that are different from sciatic pain. The pain, referred pain from trigger points, can often be burning pain, by the way, but not exclusively burning. Yet another trigger point and motor point issue is when people have trigger points and motor points in the tensor fascia lata. This happens a lot with runners. In the tensor fascia lata, which is the muscle on the side of your hip here, which is involved with, which then radiates down into the iliotibial band, the IT band. So people have IT band problems, especially runners and serious athletes, but they'll also have motor point and trigger point issues in the TFL, the tensor fascia lata. And there are also trigger points in fascia. And the IT band is nothing more than a very large band of fascia, of connective tissue. I wanted to just briefly mention what fascia is. Fascia is a kind of connective tissue that runs through our whole body from head to toe. Our body is actually a great mesh, if you will, a spider web, if you will, of fascial tissue, of connective tissue that actually runs through all of the muscles, and it helps to organize the muscles. The word fascia comes from the same root as the word fascism, which comes from the same root as phalange, which describes the ancient Roman armies that were organized very specifically in groups, a phalanx. And so fascia organizes the body. Our internal organs, the liver, the stomach, the spleen, the intestines, are all held in place and organized by webs of fascia. So you can get trigger point pain in the fascia, which is exactly what happens with IT band. When you release the trigger points and motor points of the IT band and the tensor fascia lata, everything loosens up and the IT band pain will go away. Why does pain go away when you release trigger points and motor points? Because pain occurs in the body due to inflammation. Full stop. Pain in the muscles and the fascia occur due to inflammation. And when you do acupuncture or dry needling into the trigger points or motor points and the muscles release and lengthen, the inflammation is reduced. When you needle, the trigger point itself hurts because there's a lot of inflammation right around that trigger point, and you needle it and the inflammation is released. Now, last thing I want to talk about is, I think I said everything I wanted to say about fascia for now. There's something called latent trigger points. Right now, on the left side, Graham is not complaining of pain on this left side of his rhomboid, of his shoulder and his rhomboids. I'm sorry, I had it reversed. He has pain on that side. Right now, he's not complaining of pain on his rhomboids. But let's say, for example, he came in with elbow pain here on this side. And I would definitely do acupuncture and dry needling of his left elbow. But I would also check his shoulder and his neck to make sure that everything's loose. And when I press on his rhomboids, I can feel that these areas, which are predictable areas where trigger points are often located, that it's actually quite tight. And I'm sure that if I were to press hard right there, does that hurt a little bit? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a latent trigger point. It's not causing him pain, but it has some tightness and inflammation. And since if he had elbow pain on this side, I would want to release this trigger point as well, so that his shoulder is operating in an optimal way and has full mobility. Okay, let's pause there for a moment.